In the late 1990s, women in Vancouver, Canada began disappearing. At first, these disappearances didn't seem connected. Different women, different nights, different streets. But eventually, investigators realized something terrifying. A lot of these women had last been seen in the same place. And the trail led to a run-down pig farm just outside the city. And years later, the man who owned that farm would allegedly make a confession so disturbing that even the detectives who heard it didn't want to believe it was true. About 40 minutes outside Vancouver sits the rural community of Port Coquitlam. And on the edge of that town was a property known locally for two things: pigs and parties. The farm belonged to Robert Willie Pickton and his brother, Dave. Robert Pickton didn't look like someone you'd fear. He was quiet, socially awkward, usually seen in muddy boots, and he blended into the background. But the farm didn't. People called it Piggy's Palace. On some nights, crowds of strangers showed up. There was drinking, drugs, loud music, and people coming and going until morning. And not far away, less than an hour's drive, was Vancouver's Downtown Eastside. At the time, it was one of the poorest neighborhoods in Canada. Many women there were struggling with homelessness, addiction, or sex work, and that made them vulnerable, not just to violence, but to being forgotten. During the 1990s, women from the Downtown Eastside started going missing. At first, it didn't feel like a single story. It felt like dozens of separate tragedies. One woman disappears, then another, then another. Families reported them missing. Friends asked questions. Community advocates begged police to take it seriously. But the disappearances kept piling up, and many people felt like the victims weren't being treated as urgent cases, like they were being filed away and forgotten. Over time, the number became impossible to ignore, and whispers began spreading through Vancouver. There's a predator out there. Some people believed it was a serial killer. Others believed it might be multiple offenders. But almost everyone agreed on one thing: something was happening. And it wasn't random. As investigators began looking closer, they noticed a pattern in witness accounts. Multiple people described missing women leaving the Downtown Eastside with a man in a vehicle. And the direction that vehicle headed mattered, because several witnesses described the same place it seemed to be going: out of Vancouver, toward Port Coquitlam, toward the Pickton property. But suspicion isn't evidence, and without something solid, police couldn't just storm onto a rural farm and tear it apart. So for years, the farm remained a rumor, until 2002. In February 2002, police executed a search warrant on Pickton's farm. Here's the thing: the original warrant wasn't even directly about the missing women. It began as part of a firearms investigation. But once police were on the property, they started noticing things that didn't fit. Personal items that seemed out of place. Belongings that didn't belong to Pickton. And when investigators looked closer, those items began matching property from missing women. Suddenly, a case that had stalled for years ignited. The search expanded fast. The farm became one of the largest crime scenes in Canadian history. Investigators began recovering physical evidence tying Pickton to multiple missing women, DNA, belongings, and eventually human remains. Some evidence was found inside buildings on the property, and some was found outside, in the soil, around the farm. It wasn't a single aha moment. It was more like a slow nightmare unfolding. Every time investigators thought they'd reached the bottom of what they might find, they found more. As investigators tried to understand how a crime like this could have gone on for so long, they began exploring what may have happened to victims after they were killed. This is where the story turns especially dark. Pickton raised pigs, and pigs are known to consume almost anything. Authorities believed that Pickton disposed of remains by feeding them to the pigs on his farm. But there was another disturbing angle investigators considered. Vancouver had rendering plants, industrial facilities that process animal remains. And those facilities were relatively close to the Downtown Eastside, where many victims disappeared. Meaning the same area where vulnerable women could be picked up was also near a place where evidence could be destroyed beyond recovery. The possibility was chilling, that victims could be targeted in the city, transported out to the farm, and then disposed of in ways that made finding them nearly impossible. After Pickton was arrested, investigators still needed something that would stand up in court. They needed him to talk. So they used a tactic that has solved many high-profile cases. They placed an undercover officer in his jail cell, posing as another inmate. Over time, Pickton began to open up, not all at once, but piece by piece. And then came the moment that made detectives go cold. During conversations with the undercover officer, Pickton allegedly said he had killed 49 women. And then he added something that was almost worse than the number itself, because he didn't say it with regret for the victims. He reportedly said his only regret was that he hadn't made it to 50. That single line became one of the most infamous details of the entire case. In 2007, Pickton was convicted of 6 counts of second-degree murder. and sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole for 25 years. But investigators believed the true scope of his crimes went far beyond those 6 convictions. Evidence on the property connected Pickton to many more women. Authorities identified remains or DNA linked to at least 26 victims, and the investigation suggested there could be more. For many families, the pain wasn't only that their loved ones were taken, it was that some victims were never fully recovered, meaning some families never got the closure of a final goodbye. The Pickton farm wasn't hidden deep in a remote wilderness. It was a known place, a party spot, a property people visited, which means for years people stood on that land, laughing, drinking, partying, while evidence of murder was literally under their feet. And no one knew. Or worse, some people suspected, and still didn't understand just how bad it truly was. If you're a fan of dark, true, and horrifying delivered in story format, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our uploads.